Good morning. Good morning. We tapped in. I was up this morning. And a lot of people been on me because I've been doing a couple more posts in the last couple of days. So I made a promise to a couple of my guys, a couple of my, followers and my strong female following who always telling me to stay at it. I be running and doing so much. So I came across this video the other day and I thought it was a good basis of conversation. You know what I'm saying? And so my topic is why women, right? And I think I put black women, but it's really, why women are responsible for the lack of development in men. You know what I'm saying? But especially in our culture, right? So I'm gonna play it a couple times, right? Hold on. Turn my speakers on. The men come and get him and take him away from the mama because show y'all. I think it's why women. Hold on, that's my live. I'm trying to find the video. Okay, here we go. When the boys turn a certain age, the men come and get them and take them away from the mama. Because we don't live in our culture no more. We say what we want to say, do what we want to say. We tear our men down and then wonder why they don't make good husbands and fathers. Mothers destroy sons. His mother can speak to him in certain ways that destroy him in ways that can never be repaired. This is why I'm gonna let it play a couple times. When the boys turn a certain age, the men come and get him and take him away from the mother because he can emotionally manipulate it. But since we don't live in our culture no more, we say what we want to say, do what we want to say. We tear our men down and then wonder why they don't make good husbands and fathers. Mothers destroy sons. His mother can speak to him in certain ways that destroy him in ways that can never be repaired. I want this to sink in, so I'm gonna let it play before we get to this time. This is why in our culture as black people, when the boys turn a certain age, the men come and get him and take him away from the mother because he can emotionally manipulate it. But since we don't live in our culture no more, we say what we want to say, do what we want to say. We tear our men down and then wonder why they don't make good husbands and fathers. Mothers destroy sons. Because see, we always talk about in my combos, this year, just a couple weeks ago, I had a couple people try to make it seem like I hate black women. My goal is I really always point out the issue because when we always talk about the black man, we got to remember that his root is going to come from his mother. And when we talk about, even the father came from a woman, right? So it's very important that we understand because in our culture right now, with women being allowed to have the say so and say the last word and for women feel like their word supersedes all and they're having it their way, but on the detriment of their sons' lack of development and lack of ability to grow up and be accountable or be somebody's husband. You know what I'm saying? Or to run somebody's firm or to even run their own because without accountability, they can't do it. So when she says in this, she says, in our culture, when the boys get a certain age, that's 12, the men come and get these women. The men come and get their sons or the men of the village come get these. They take them away from their mother. Why? Because women are naturally emotionally unstable when it comes out of decisions. That's what they mean, passion and logic, right? So the men in our culture will go and get these boys and have them around other men so that they can get the consistency, so they can get the logic of a man, so they can understand their role, so that they would understand, right? Because a group of women they can nurture, but they can't really give a man his moral sense, and they're going to pass off their emotional logic, their ways, and a lot of this is more of the woman or the feminine way that's going to hurt the kid, right? But nobody ever wants to hear this at the end of the day because right now, we live in a time where women are comfortable with having everything they want to say, but on average, they don't understand that what comes that power also comes with destruction, right? So it's destructive. If your child is disrespectful or do stuff and you don't let nobody check them, then what you're really doing is that you're prepping him and you're teaching him to be disrespectful to all authority, especially his women, and never to be responsible. You know what I mean? But nobody wants this question. You want to know why this conversation go on deaf ears? Because women are not ready. Right? And
And when the men that don't want to be accountable on the same token, they're not ready to be accountable because they don't choose to be accountable. But the root of it is saying that what she's saying, like, listen, starting from mom, if mom lets him get away with murder, don't hold him accountable, then what woman can have kids by this man? He gonna be accountable, right? I want you to see the bigger picture. We always talk about the black man and the root of black man and the little boy, but the root of the little boy is a woman. Because that's where he came from. Now his father plays a big role in this, but we got to remember when the father can speak, or the father has an opinion, but mom can supersede the opinion and do what she wants on a regular basis, right? The key to this is saying that you are creating the monster that everybody else has to deal with. Nobody likes this conversation. I've been having this conversation, something like this, for a minute, but we don't listen. So that's why I keep playing what she's saying. So listen.
Culture no more. We say what we want to say, do what we want to say. We tear our men down and then wonder why they don't make good husbands and fathers.
And I'm going to let it start from again. I'm going to stop and break it. Hold on.
Mothers destroy sons. His mother can speak to him in certain ways that destroy him in ways that can never be repaired. This is why in our culture as black people, when the boys turn a certain age, the men come and get him and take him away from the mother because she can emotionally manipulate him.
And that means, I'll give you an example to make it clear. You could be having an argument with your woman or whatever, and let's say it's about her son, and he ain't cleaning up, he ain't doing what he's supposed to do, he's not following the rules properly. I'm going to make this make sense. And when you addressing him as the father or the man of the house, he rolling his eyes, his body language bad, he going through all this shit. Now, his mother come up. And while you talking to him, or whatever, his body language, and you looking at her, if she's not correcting his body language, and so if this woman is upset at you, or got some gripe with you, she can sit there and not chastise this little boy, right? And she can sit here and argue with you. So whether it's intentional or not, this is what they mean by a woman can emotionally manipulate her son. Her son, you're telling him what to do. He's rolling his eyes, his body language fucked up. When she walks up, she can check him and put him in place for his benefit, or she can walk up and say, you need to stop yelling at my kids. Or you need to do this, right? At that point, she's emotionally manipulating her son because he's wrong as hell. And he should be being taught morals and principles on what's right or wrong, right? But if mom steps up, because let's say mom and dad been arguing, or they ain't been seeing eye to eye, when dad is saying, yo, fix your motherfucking body language before I knock your ass out, when mom gonna say, you gonna stop talking to him, and you need to be better, now mom is putting her emotions and her frustrations on her son, meaning that he needs to be checked. But instead, because of how I feel about you, and because I'm mad at you, she manipulated him because she made him feel like he had a right to have an attitude. That's the emotional manipulation. If this goes on constantly, then what happens next is, after years of this, that son is going to feel like, yo, he going to feel like he got a right. It's never going to get better. So the manipulation was she's mad at you emotionally, so she's justifying her son's attitude because she's frustrated with you. This is the manipulation. When the kids need to clean up, as men, when we tell them boys to do something, we want them to do it right then and there. We need them to do it right then and there, and that's what's important, right? But if emotionally she is frustrated, she's upset, she gets mad, you know what I'm saying? That's the manipulation. A man telling clean the fuck up, you go to mom and it starts an argument with mom because she mad at you yelling. That's emotional manipulation because whether she mean to or not, she's manipulating the situation, and now she's mad at you, so she's trying to get back at you. Or it could be a man and he's trying to get back at mom. But meanwhile, them boys and them little kids and them girls ain't getting checked. So meanwhile, they develop these habits and personalities that their girlfriends, baby mamas, wives, friends have to deal with that went unchecked, right? So that's what it means by emotions. Just to give you an example.
But since we don't live in our culture no more, we say what we want to say, do what we want to say. We tear our men down.
And since we don't live in our culture no more, what's expressed in this, right, to make it simple, and since we don't have a culture like a system where mother and father work together, because that's where culture starts from, the kingdom is family. But since we don't have a culture anymore and women say what they want, do what they want, feel how they want, and feel like there's no repercussion. You can't be, if every time there's an issue you get extra emotional, you are the problem, because how can we solve a problem if you're in your feelings? Look, there's some things that we're going to bring to you about yourself, about these kids, about the structure, about your motherhood. Vice versa, it's going to be some things your wife going to bring to you, or your woman's supposed to bring to you, about your authority, about your aggression, about your leadership. All of these things, if whether man or woman, if all we do is get in our feelings about the complaints of our partners, of our husbands and our wives, or whatever the case, then we are emotionally in the way. If you get what I'm saying. Because I've seen this, and I know how important this is to people, because I talk to a lot of men, right? And me having the conversation, and me, you know what I'm saying, really being the person I am and have done these convos for so long, and just all the people I've talked to, men and women, but really just understanding that these convos was rooted in the foundation so that women can understand how men feel and understand that things have to change. So that's what they mean. Our culture isn't right. That, you know, no other culture really, if a woman can do and say what she wants, the culture is going to lack, because it's an unbalance. That's the issue, right? That's why I always talk about the study showing a woman that raises a family, she leads the world in failure. That mother, even if she worked hard every day, she's not home, she can't discipline the kids. When she is, she's too busy feeling guilty that she always at work, that she can't discipline properly. And then meanwhile, these kids grow up, while she at work all day, they in the streets, they commit crime, do some shit they ain't supposed to. Don't mean they bad kids, but they get caught up in this shit because ain't nobody there to pay attention. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes dad could be around in the area somewhere, but she don't like how he discipline. Or she don't like how you go about it, but at the same time, you got to understand that some things are necessary for the development of a young man. Women don't want their son. I've noticed that women really be protecting their sons like they little girls, right? If a man comes to you about your son, especially because the issue will be about their sons more than anything. When a man comes to you about your son, like he not doing his chores, he not doing A, B, C, and D. If in the exchange of him telling you that there's a problem, like let's just say there's a problem. And then in exchange of the man coming to the woman and saying like, look, these kids ain't fucking listening. I'm frustrated. He's frustrated. But if in that moment, instead of hearing the problem, well, all you do is complain. And I'm tired of this, you didn't even handle the problem here. I want you to understand the emotional manipulation. So the ability to cause an argument when there's a problem that needs to be solved is the issue for black men. I have an issue with how you're moving, but you cause an argument. It didn't fix the problem. You just mask it and try to push the blame. There's an issue with the kids and the development of the men. Oh, you caused the argument. You caused the problem, and you went away. So I want women to understand when I have these conversations, you know how I say when niggas get mad, well, girl, I feel like he gonna cause an argument just because he wanted to go leave and fuck. Well, I guess that's the same thing. It's equivalent, because in the household, you never ask yourself as a woman, well, how was the choices? If every time I do what I want to do, I say what I want to say. If I don't like what the man do, I do opposite. Then understand why these things are happening, and why these men is stepping out on you, and why these men is gone, and why these men are not giving you, and why as a woman you can't get what you want. See, it's easy to always point the finger, but to never look at yourself, and that's why I always come in for that. You know what I'm saying? We always talk about black men, but black men come out of black women. And if that black man has a mother, right? And the mother is the person who has the say or not to what the man can do and can't do. So that means that before that man could even become a teenager, his developmental stages is around his mother. And if she nurture him too much or be too mindful, because see, I noticed that a lot of women, they so mindful of how their sons feel, but they don't have that same compassion for these men and understand why these men watch this shit and then look differently at it. And so that's what I want you to understand. It's never something that can be done properly or done right. So that's the issue. We can argue all day about everything. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I always say that I try to talk about it. And I know it's a sensitive topic. And I know that where we are in the world right now, that we ain't really in the place where anybody want to be accountable. So that's why it's such a touchy conversation and such a crazy topic. You know what I'm saying? So, and let's hear, and I always brought y'all her because she got some new ones. So I definitely want to bring y'all some of this. and just see how y'all feel about it, because I know people tap in and watch me later. So this is for my real fans and my true audience, people that always tapped in.
Is loneliness.
Yeah.
Right? The black woman is loneliness.
Yeah.
Right? Can you elaborate on that more?
Well, once again, you paraphrasing me, but yes.
Paraphrasing.
Because, I tell you, I have to say that because people go around saying I said all kind of things. And I didn't say that, but it was something similar to that, okay? Well, because we can survive without a man. We do. All the time, all over the country. For years. We can survive without sexual intimacy. We can survive. We can make it, all right? But we're not satisfied, okay? I'm not going to say happy, because the word happy is not in the Bible, the Torah, or the Quran, so it can't be that important. They've made it important to us because we spend money for happiness, all right? And we think it's everybody pick out what they want to have happiness, all right? But as I said, peace is the number one thing that creates happiness and allows all of the other things to grow and happen. But we're very lonely because of our men being so discouraged right now. Okay, some of our best brothers are in prison. Okay, they get a different education there, and we are struggling, of course, with the mental health issues that has been forced on you by living in a hostile environment your entire life. Okay. Personal rejection is very, that's hard to handle over the years. Many of you have been rejected by your father. Some of you have been rejected even by your mother and the entire society. That's very hard, and we don't consider that. Now, I know right now it looks like we're having a harder time, but we ain't never had as hard a time as you, because the enemy has always tried to take your place and make you look inadequate by giving us everything we need for us and our children to survive. So I looked at the television the other night, and that new guy at Swarmer Harmon, whatever his name is, that's running in the election, a Republican, he said that many of our women keep the man out of the home so that we can get certain benefits. I'm paraphrasing him, but that's what he said. And that is such a great lie. It was the white man's idea to put y'all out of the house. It wasn't our idea. We tried to keep you in there. We would hide you under the bed, in the closet, anywhere. We weren't trying to separate from you. Plus, if you got a whole project area with a lot of women and children, where do they think them children came from? Okay, there's some men that lie there some kind of way. So, this is a lie that they perpetrate. Now they're going to turn it back on us. This is how it's done. All right? The entire objective is...
And I love Shahzad Ali. I think she missed one area, because I do agree that women were sneaking men in the house, and this shit's still going on today, right? But when we realize why we dating and we hit a rough spot, and let's say I'm coming in, I'm staying all the time, and you sneaking me in, but I'm trying to get you to handle the kids and trying to get you to do certain things. Hey, when your foundation, when you feel like I ain't gotta, when I'm starting to talk to you as a man and push you to be better, to want more, sometimes you can get frustrated with me, right? And let's say you get frustrated with me and say, well, you gotta leave. See, when I put you, it's different if I come to, remember, these men that's getting snuck in, they can't come in and say that these women getting these apartments from the state, the government. So if a man come in with some authority, some rules that they don't like, even if it's good for their kids and them and they don't understand, they can push them out and get rid of them. Now, them sneaking them in is one thing, but them getting rid of the man, or them the lack of ability to be able to go in, I think it's a two-way street. So I do agree with her, but I think that if when I look at it, when I see a woman, let's say women were sneaking men into the house with that. So we can't say, oh, the black woman was not for the black man. She was. But the black woman has always been for the black man until he starts trying to tell her what she needs to do. Or when he tell her about how her kids need to be corrected, then it becomes an offensive part. So yeah, the white man is the one that created that we ain't supposed to be there, Section 8 and all that stuff. But she snuck us in, but she didn't know how to keep us.
It's to keep you and me apart. Whatever the risk is, whatever the cost is, they would rather deal with that than allow us to get together. When I was young, they used to say that mafia stood for Mothers and Fathers in Association. I don't know if that's true. didn't make sense. All right? Because you can always do better with a helpmate. You can do better with peace. All right? That's the greatest inspiration. I know how it affects myself. As I've written books over the years, I couldn't do them if anything else was going on. If I was waiting to pay my taxes, or if I had to go to a doctor appointment or something at the school, I could not do anything until completely everything was out of my head, everything calmed down where I was at peace, and then the ideas could come in. And creativity is like that. As I said, I know that it's that because it's just coming to you, and then you have to get it out of you, no matter what it is. You know, we are creative like that. We are just, as an example, the white art museums. There's nothing but nonsense in there. We know it's just pure silliness. That art they talk about is art makes no sense. Their paintings are all, it'll be maybe exactly like something. Now they like that realism because then they don't have to create nothing. Just paint the apple and there it is, and it's already an apple there, you know. But it comes up out of you. You don't have to have that kind of inspiration. If you can get cooled out, it bothers you so long until you have to get it out. This is what creativity, this is how greatness works for us. And so many of us are so talented, so great, so wonderful. And you know, we're different. We really are. Because you can see the way many of us wear our hair, the way many of us have a certain kind of nose, the way many of us wear certain jewelry. That's all different tribes. We wasn't one tribe that came to America. And so we have those things still in us. And we try to express them even with the long hair. And I know that's, you know, that's not the best thing we need to do is to put all that different fake stuff in our hair. But who has been the model of beauty for the black woman in America? Who has been the model for hair for the black woman in America? The white woman. So we want our hair like hers. We want to mimic that. That was our model. And we don't, we want to make it black, colored hair. But then too, you know, we got slews of black women who have blonde hair. Who are getting skin
So meaning that on a deeper level, because Shahzad Ali, I like her point she make, and I would say, see, the difference between a woman having this conversation and a man is always going to the points. Like, she's a woman, so she can smooth it out a little more, where some of the edges should be a little rough, you know. But it's speaking that we in the house as women, y'all in the house with these men. We not trying to be white men, though. I want to make this clear. Most men, we're not trying to be white men. Oh, we don't fashion ourselves after how white boys dress or how a white man would dress. But we sitting here with a woman, right? And she's beautiful, but we see her, she got an opinion and she got an attitude, but we watching her be everything but herself. But yet she said, I know myself. And it's like, these things have to be corrected, because whether if anybody agree with me and get mad at me about my conversations, you know, the black man is accountable of all things, and he is responsible as well. But the only person that can change the culture, and it starts with the mom, because mom is the one that raised the boys and the children on average, right? That's who has the power.
Whiteness. The self-hate we have been taught. You almost can't, how you quantify that? Okay, and the more false stuff we have on, the more we hate ourselves. That's what that shows. You even got the brothers now getting weaves and getting braids and everything.
That's facts. So you know what I'm saying? And when I see that, and what are they following? The rappers, the Dirk had blonde in his hair. So, right? And then we got the men trying to be women. So I can see, let me say that the insecurity exists on both sides, right? But a lot of the men who trying to be women, we don't consider them men, respectfully. And then the guys who dye their dread tips, it's for fashion, right? But you know, I've seen, Dirk did it, and understand the influence of the people that your children look up to and the power. They're not doing it because they're trying to be like a white man. They're doing it because a black man did it. Just like how it ain't always about how y'all trying to be like a white woman. Y'all just don't realize the black women y'all look up to are modeling their fashion and hair behind white women.
We are not making the kind of progress we think we are.
What do you say to people who always say we are making progress? People would love to say that we're making progress. Race is no longer an issue. People are doing great.
What is no longer an issue?
People say race is no longer an issue.
Oh, that's crazy. That's ridiculous.
I know
race is
you
no
heard
longer
that
an
word.
issue. Race is the only issue, and everything else just was lined up after that. But I have talked with people who have a similar idea that things are so much better now. Well, it depends on what kind of equation you're setting up.
Let me speak on that. I'm gonna give you a perfect example. So the other night I'm up late, I'm playing 2K because I'm gonna show you about racism still exists, but I'm gonna show you how asleep our people are and how ignorant and how simple-minded our people are because we let the schools teach them that racism over, and if a black person has an opinion and says something about science, it's racist. I'm on 2K, we in a game, right? It's me, it's 4 black guys on this team, because you know it's scan our face, and it's a white guy, and you can tell he's white because we all got our headphones on. So the game starts, you know, he's leading and scoring now. Everybody's missing because it's the beginning of season 2, so everybody rank starts over. So he's like 4 for 10, 4 for 9. This one guy's 1 for 5. I'm 3 for 6 at the time, or 4 for 7, one or the other. The other guys on the team like 1 for 6. The other dude like 2 for 7. Now mind you, he's only 4 for 9 or 4 for 10. So I hear the guys in there saying like, "Hey man, pass the ball." In this 2K shit, if we play together, the people that play together the most in the rec and stuff, they're gonna win. It's just like real life because they're kicking and passing each other. Ain't nobody worried about scoring. Everybody looking for the best shot. Everybody playing together. So he said, "Man, shut the fuck up, man. I'm not passing the ball to somebody who's 1 and fucking 6. Fuck how I look like." And so another kid said, "Come on, man, you pass the ball." So he's being rude. This white boy's being completely rude. I plugged my headset in. I said, "Listen, man. Everybody who plays in this regular league, if it's a person that's gonna jock it out, we're gonna lose. So we're just playing together." He said, "Why the fuck would I pass the ball to him, you, and all that?" And I'm looking at him like, first of all, you're being rude and clearly you don't play basketball. And so he's just saying, "I got a D1 scholarship. I'm really a guard. I made a 7-footer because I don't feel like being on the game right now. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got time to do the work." But I'm like, "Listen, bro, I come from basketball and I had scholarships too. So if I'm a guard in real life, when I play 2K, I'm not gonna feel like the work that I'm gonna have to do to be a guard is too much because that's what I have to do in real life. If anything, I'm gonna do it so I can see my capability and max out, right?" But he keeps talking, he's very rude. And he said, "Look, first of all, you guys will never be the players you create. And from that point on, I always have a logic. Ain't no white boy on planet Earth or white woman gonna tell me about what we capable of as black people. Once you hit that threshold, I'm not going racist with you, but we gonna talk about it." And I said, "Listen, bro, you genetically, all of these black kids over here that's on 2K, they got all the keys in their genetics to actually do what they're playing, right? Because when you watch the NBA, what's dominating the NBA? Black players in all sports, black players, right? Hockey was even created by black people. That a game that the Egyptians used to play, right? And the people that those are the foreigners that live in Canada. But I'm telling him genetically, like my play on 2K, he's 6'5". I'm a slight inch off of 6'4", right? My player is damn near my height, like an inch taller than me, right? But the player was created off of the ball player I was, right? So when I'm telling him like, "Yo, I just didn't feel like it was." Now, why I'm saying this now, listen, I'm saying that genetically, the black kids we got the keys. So for you to say that we can't, right? Now, I never said one time that he couldn't, I'm just pointing out to him that he's making a statement and false. So when I'm talking to him, he's like, "Yo, dude, you're a racist." See, he said, "Yo, if I would have came in and said black player, if I would have said that the white kids hold all the genetics, you would have called me a racist." When I said, "No, I wouldn't have called you a racist. I would have said that your statements didn't make sense, right? And that you couldn't, and that your statements don't clarify your argument, right? See, if you're gonna come to me and I'm just showing you about how racism don't exist." He was saying, if I would have said what you said, a racist, I said, "No, I wouldn't have called you racist. I would have listened to you in your argument to hear your points, to see if, you know what I'm saying? And then I would have told you if I felt and let you know like I felt like your argument isn't supported by what you're saying, right? That don't make you racist." And so this other, now mind you, he was being rude with these probably like 19, 21-year-olds. I can hear him. And then they were like, "Yeah, bro, you doing too much, man. What race got to do with anything? And this and that, da, 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 da." And I'm just in the game ending, right? So As the game ended, they sitting there and they with the white boy like, yeah, man, with this genetics and da-da-da. But see, they don't get it. These young black men who have no fucking clue about who they are, what they are, who they are, and got this white boy in there emotionally tricking their strings at the end of the day. You said we can never be the players that we creating. I'm telling you that black kids could have the genetic code to be the players you creating. And then why he kept saying that he's a D1 college player for the whole game, because it's all this back and forth going on. We asking him, well, what school do you play for? He never told us. So like at the end, I said, you never told us what school you play for because you don't play basketball and you don't have basketball IQ. Because if you did, you're not going to sit there and be in a game and you going up and you missing shots like everybody else. And you got people wide open at the three-point line and under the basket that can make easy shots. And you just going to keep shooting it because you feel like you got a better chance to make it. Coach going to take your ass out the game. But instead of the black people in the room who I took up for being able to see that I was checking him, and I told him, I said, regardless of what any of y'all say, when I got in his chat, he was disrespecting the shit out of y'all. So my point with him was to be mindful and stop being so rude to people with ignorance. But you know, a lot of them black kids, they was like, whatever, right? But I understand that most of them black boys is raised by black women and black men who ain't give a fuck about life or nothing else, who too busy shopping at the mall, at the store, or doing something else.
You say that they not coming to our door at night, pulling us out, lynching us. They don't do that as much. They still do it. They just call it the police and that it's legal. These things are still happening. As I say, we're living in a hostile environment, and a friend of mine once told me, we're trying to normalize our captivity. We're trying to act like it's okay, I'm all right, everything's fine, I got a job, I got an apartment, I got a car, you know, I'm going on vacation.
So one of the most important things for me with anything on the tuba,
and that's a good thing. Everybody coping, right? I mean, I think black woman knows how much she needs black men, but she's just so frustrated, and she has to recognize it as a woman, right? That you're frustrated. It's like as a man that's out here dogging women and being foul and not being accountable, he has to recognize, right? So on either end, you have to recognize what's going on and to be able to fix it. If I'm running from what reality is, right? If I'm just saying like I'm okay, I got a job, because that's what when I see men, I'm not biased. Men and women, I feel equally. When I see a man and women, like it's okay. Like I always say, it's cool to be prideful about what you've accomplished, especially when a lot of people break up in relationships and people try to break them and tear them down and left them with nothing. So definitely be prideful about what you accomplished, but use those as ego boosters to continue to thrust yourself forward. But don't let those same things that stress you into your independency, don't let you becoming stable thrust you into independency, that thrust you into loneliness, that thrust you into selfishness, right? Because now it's like, well, shit, I'm good, whether man or woman. I got my own crib, I got this, but at the end of the day, we know deep down inside that you lonely. No matter how much you say out in the public, and I'm not saying that you got to settle for less, but it's coping. I don't need no nigga. You know what I'm saying? If that's the case, I don't need no woman. I got this figured out. Then it look like we looking at two people headed to being homosexuals. Because that's the only way is that. You know what I'm saying? I think that we always, like she said, everybody talking about he don't make me happy. But the question is, does he give you peace? Do you give him peace? Because a lot of times women think, oh, because I'm with you and I give you my body and you get to be with me, that's enough. It's not enough. So a lot of people, a lot of times, even when it comes down to a good job, a woman can have a good job, or a man can have a good job, but still be a horrible person, a bad parent, a horrible partner. You know what I'm saying? A bad friend. These things, you know what I'm saying? All happen. Just because if you got a good job, just because a man or woman got a good job or got money or finances, that's something that can be earned, or something. You can earn wealth without being a good person. You can take wealth. You can murder for wealth. You can inherit wealth from negativity. You can inherit wealth from slavery, right? So money doesn't have anything to do with the character of a person or who they are, right? And so the number one logic is women, they convince black women completely as the number one culture to believe like, yo, his money is the most important. Now we know, yes, black women say, it ain't how I started, but let's not talk about that. We talk about women that say, I talk to women all the time. Well, when I started, we had the niggas who ain't do us right, but at the same time, you was 18, 16, 17, 18, 19, dealing with men who was 20 and older, who a lot of y'all shouldn't have been dealing with because he can manipulate you. Because you, for one, you have no clue of the world. Now, you realize this later when you get 30. Like I seen a post where a woman said, men get taught the game when women got to figure it out. And from a woman's perspective, I can see why you think that, but how can men be taught the game if they daddy ain't even in their goddamn house? So a man is learning the game from growing up in a household with women. Our fathers don't. My dad, or most of the men I know that got fathers, our fathers ain't telling us nothing about how to not respect a woman, right? I'm talking about the men that got fathers. Now, if you want to talk about what men, what little boys see, I can see the argument. I won't be biased. But I'm saying as far as the same way that women have told their daughters, girl, you don't need no nigga, make sure you got this, this, and that. You know what I'm saying? Now, you also mom has to be accountable who told her daughter that about the choices of men. Yeah, when you say don't trust no nigga, it's proven that you blame all of the wrong and responsibility on that man. And 99% of the times, or I say 90, you know, that man is unhappy. Now, it is some women that's doing everything they supposed to do and these men cheating on them. But all women in every relationship and every woman that got cheated on or broke up with, they all play the same victim. But very small percentage of them are actually respectful and good women. So that's a very powerful statement.
Name. We can't say that a name is not important. If it hadn't been important, they wouldn't have took it from us. Everything was geared to control us and turn us into a slave for them.
When did you change your name and how liberating was it?
My first husband, Brother Solomon, named me, and that was in 1967. He said, Sherazade. And I turned around. Okay? He said, that's you. And as the history turned out, as we studied it, Sherazade really means tranquility. Now, I know y'all don't think I'm tranquil, but I am. I really am. And she was the one that wrote the stories. Okay? And at that time, at first I was trying to be a poet, incidentally. Okay? Because it's a good way to express you. I advise anybody that wants to do some, write some poetry. Don't try to make everybody else enjoy it. You just write it for yourself. It's the way to purge. And I sent my poetry to the messenger, to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who was responsible for my career, me writing all my books and everything. I sent it to him. I was so proud. I sent him about 2 poems. He sent me, at that time you could write to the messenger. He would answer your questions and send you a letter back.
How did it make you feel when you responded?
Oh, it was just wonderful. Oh, I was just trembling. Of course, I can't find the letter. I was showing it to somebody about 20 years ago and it disappeared. But at any rate, he wrote me back one line in the letter. He said, dear Sister Sherazade, I am not concerned with poetry. That was the last poem I wrote. That was the end of that. Oh, I was so embarrassed to myself. You know, and that's in one of our prayers. And that should be in some of all of my people's prayers. We have one line in there that says, I have been greatly unjust to myself. So when we're doing evil, when we're doing something bad, or it may look like physically that we're doing it to that person or some other organization, but you're really doing that to yourself. You don't have to believe in God, because God believes in you. Okay? And
now I want to see, and we're going to go because I want to definitely see a little more about where she go. You know what I'm saying? I think for me, I always did this because I realized the only way to truly fix this is to teach. There's no other way around it. So for the people that do care to watch and listen, I do it for y'all.
Welcome to I Never Knew TV, right? Like that.
It was more in agreement. And the sisters were, he gonna eat what I cook. I've been cooking, he been eating it, and my grandma ate it, and she's still here. She ate it. You know, and I said, wait a minute, what's happening here? And that happened a few times. Not a lot of people, but a few times that caught my ear. And I said, now we're withholding the proper food from the black man, and food is what sustains life. What else are we withholding that is affecting his development and success? And so then I started looking at us, which had not been done. Because prior to me writing the Black Man's Guide, and it was released in March of 1990, I wrote it in 1989, but was that we did not want to take any accountability for the condition of our families and the failure of our families. and undisciplined children, everything. And because then everything was blamed on the black man. You know, he ain't this, he ain't in the house, he ain't paying this, he not working, he not whatever. With us negating the fact that he was under, you know, you all were under a terrible system. You didn't have anything going. You were still held back by your color, not your ability. And I didn't like that because I had a wonderful husband. And I had great sons as a result of that. And I did not want you all to continue to function without really knowing us like we thought we knew you. Okay? We had support in every negative idea we had about every black man. Okay? And the black man you see now is not the black man of the 50s and 60s and 70s. Okay? They have breasted you all in a way. You all a whole new different kind of men we knew. Okay? But at any rate, I wanted to just study us and look at that. And so I got it from interviewing people and the foundational principles of what makes success in a relationship, and from myself and just a lot of different, you know, aspects of life. I started, you know, gathering that information. It was there all along. The Black Man's Guide is not a surprise. It's just the first time y'all seen it in print. Yeah, ain't no surprises in there.
And, all right, so everything you learned from the book about not eating pork, you applied to this book in regards to marketing, how to get everything done?
Well, of course, you know, all of the worlds have a joining on, especially with knowledge. You can, you know, go from one step to the other and lead you to the other. Diet is very...
I'm glad they said that, because he says, because she was saying in knowledge, all things connect. So sometimes when I talk to people, right, whether if we having a regular conversation, but especially when people get frustrated or don't understand where I'm coming from, they'll tend to say like, man, you go in here and try to attack me for intelligence. But if you give a person a second who really understands, who's trying to articulate to you the reason why I'm saying these 3-4 other things that's outside of the basis of what we're talking about, because if you allow me, I will make them all connect. But if you don't allow me, then I can't really show you the true essence. And that's the best way I could explain it. All things, all knowledge connects in some points.
Important. Diet is the reason that we are overweight, high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, high cholesterol, liver disease. Now we're getting a whole thing on kidney disease. You know, a lot of these things we have developed from bad diet. We don't know what we're eating. We're the only people in America who don't have a food chain. And when I say that, I don't mean stores. We don't have a food path. The Asians, they have stores. They have food in there that's got their language. We don't even know what's in the can if it ain't no picture of it. They created that. We even have Africans here who have food that they have brought in from the East and from South Africa that they are able to sell here, that they manufactured. They brought it in, however. And of course, the Latinos, the Mexicans, all of them have their own food. We can't even, as I said, read a lot of the labels. And so everyone here has a food path except us. Our only food path is to get it from them. Okay? White people.
And the reason is why we don't have a food path, if you want to understand deeper, is because we keep saying Africans got theirs, Hispanics, because our food chain exists on this soil, because this is where we really came from, right? And we don't realize, we so focused on the lies and the stories they told us in school that we don't realize that our true food source of wealth was here. We're the people, the Moors, that had we introduced the rest of the world to 400 types of sweet potatoes and stuff like that, and all these different crops that they didn't know, not even Africa, right? So I want us to understand, and a part of the Hispanics, that's part of ours too. We just don't know it. Because the language of Spanish was originally our language. It's called Moorish Latin, not Spanish. The true name is Moorish Latin. So the more we understand, we'll realize that some of this is our stuff. We just disconnected.
We even get a lot of food, you know, out of Italy, and a lot of places over there in Europe. But we don't have any place. We don't get along with the Africans, and they don't get along with us. They've been taught to hate us and dislike us and think we're a fool. And we've been taught we don't like their attitude. They act like they're superior, you know, because we're walking around talking about we are African Americans. We're not African Americans. We are American Africans. This is how Africa look that's been indoctrinated with all the nonsense of America. This is how an African looks when they have been robbed of their God, their politics, and their principles. We are a result. This is what it looks like.
You heard it? When you look at the black man and you frustrated with him, this is the result of when they took our language, our land, our everything. When they took our women, our land, our resources, and took everything from us, the black man is a result of that. Because if you take right now, if I take everything from women that's important to them and make them and lead them in society, when the men, we give men all the jobs, right? Because that's what was happening just 100 years ago when we first so-called getting free. So the woman, they didn't care. She still had no rights really, but the man did, so they had to go through it. But in the genetics, I understand why they passed down the fear of breeding, right? But then nobody ever thought at the end of the day, well, what happens when the black men in the next generation feel like how the women feel of this generation? What happens when the black men get to the point where we say we don't need black women? That's a dangerous time.
Okay? I realize Muhammad teaches, the first thing it does is dignify you. And it does teach you superiority because you are superior. We don't have to pretend that we're not superior. Certainly the black man. Because by you all accepting that you are less, and they have made it almost illegal. That's one of the things they said against the messenger.
See, and that's another reason why when I talk to so many people, right, I always feel like when people talk to me, when they get frustrated, I always feel like I'm under attack because they feel like, well, you want to be a motivational speaker, you want to be a rapper, you want to do this, you want to do that, and nobody realizes, like, yo, I am who I am. I am all those things, and I'm great at it, and that's because I genuinely know that's who I am, and I'm always. The more I realize who I was in self, see, if as men especially, and I'm gonna talk to the men, you know, a lot of men that feel that way, they feel that way about me because clearly you don't feel that inside, and I'm not attacking nobody, and I'm speaking to the individual, not to anybody in particular. When you look at somebody else and think they do too much, the real question that we gotta ask ourselves is, why am I not doing enough? Why am I content with the things I'm doing? If anything, a person should look at a person who's doing as much as I am and say, yo, I can do more. So we always have to look within self. So when I see somebody that look at me that way, I'm starting to realize that they genuinely, it's not about me. It's about how they categorize and what they feel the levels of what's possible in their own limits.
That he teaching racial superiority. Absolutely. They teach it. And if they didn't teach racial superiority, then how come they don't say that Jesus is black or Chinese or Latino? They made him white like them. That's the supreme racial superiority that they tricked us with. Yeah. But the church give us an activity that we think we're doing for God. The church give us something to do. The church give us what the messenger called the imagination of truth. It lets us dream of something when we know good and well what he taught is that nobody's interested in the affairs of man but another man. All right? And he told us that if Jesus or any of the people that they say they believe in came down here, or if an angel, if a human being came down here with wings on their back and somebody floated down out of the clouds and did any of that, we wouldn't run up to them and say, oh, Lord. We would run away from them. Okay? And the white people would try to kill them. They would shoot it. That would be the first thing. Oh, no, we're not having none of that. And that's,
That's fact. So that's what Elijah Muhammad mean by deep down inside in our psyche, that we don't really believe in a God either. Because who ready for something to come out the skies that don't look like us and we just going to submit to it? We can't even look at each other and not see the enemy in each other. So how could we look at something else? And God forbid, you know, they say that they made in the image of themselves. So if they come down here looking like that and look like us, we even more terrified. And we don't even realize that. Think about that. You know what I'm saying? It's not so much you know, people ask me all the time, and that's what that conversation I said earlier on 2K when I was saying, like, think about what I was spiritually, I was saying, like, man, you know, if you want to be technical in your ignorance, the black man can be everything he creates, respectfully. And people will get mad at me for saying that, but I would say at the end of the day, yo, you know, that mindset is what built all these great builders, are the things that made us create things. And remember, it was man in frustration who created inventions on average. Whether most, you know, who made it, I don't care, man or woman. I'm not caught up on that. I think that's selfish. But in our frustration, right, we always invented things to make life easier. So when are we going to invent the concepts and the ideologies and the new, when are we going to invent the new relationship for each other, right? See, when we were stressed out in our history, when you look at us during slavery, sometimes I think we need to be back in a fucked up position in order to rewire ourselves properly, right? Because when nobody realized, people say, man, why you do them combos and why you always come back? Because the world frustrates you. And I learned a long time ago, when things frustrate you, you got to do something about it. It's a reason why these things frustrate me when the rest of the world just keeps walking and don't do nothing about it. Because it's my job to change it just like it's yours. And if anybody tells you you're delusional because you think you can change a problem, it speaks on their lack of belief of how powerful one spirit can be to the world, right? So I always express that, like, in our frustration, we invented inventions to make the work easier, right? In our frustrations, we did certain things, right? So when do we, as the man and the woman of our culture, we invent new ways to work together? When we invent new ideologies it's, you know, clearly it doesn't work. That's why I say when I look at marriage, it fails so much because it's not natural. And I think about how when you talk to psychiatrists and you go to marriage counselors, they always say, you know, men 75% of the time are the ones that's listening. The woman is the one that goes into counseling, and she has a choice. She can take the information or not and keep doing what she does. The counselors tell you this. Women have a harder time adapting and accepting than men do. So when are we going to invent those ways? And the point of this I started was saying that, like she said, like, in our natural culture, the boys were taken away from their mother at 12. Ask yourself, since we don't take them away from their mothers, and not knocking them, but that's why the studies show that they leave the world in death, failure, prison. Don't you think that the Africans, I hate using that word because Afrikaners was European that conquered us, but don't you think our ancestors who knew more than what they know now figured this shit out too? And do you think that the reason why that some of these kings had a main wife and then had concubines was for a reason? Because the king realized his wife didn't want to have sex as much as he wanted to? So you know what? The system was created with her permission. Yo, go mess with them. Look, you can, as long as you're going to marry and take care of them, you can have your way. Because when I don't want to be bothered, I don't want to be bothered. You know as women how y'all don't want to be bothered sexually sometimes, so that's where that system came from. She didn't have the power of his wife. His kids were all his kids. But then the problem would become the manipulation between the different wives trying to kill other kids so they could be firstborn. You see, listen to how this has always been an issue. He got his main wife, and now they set this up for peace, so it's not all on the wife sexually, right? And then, after the kids come, there's another generation where it's like, okay, well, my son is the third, fourth, fifth born, but the first child has to die for the second child to be the king, and the second child, so before they can even get to the husband, the firstborn, that's rightfully so, they probably already manipulated, hurt each other, maimed each other, the kids, because they're being taught against each other by mom. This is facts. If y'all think I'm lying, go study any empire. Go study all of the rulerships that in Egypt, because those are different people. From the Africans to the people that left, right? For the so-called Africans to the Greeks, right? To all of these people. Each one of these empires, when you look at what happened and how they fell, they all rotted from the inside out. Brothers lying and deceiving each other's wives, teaching their sons to disobey their father and to kill them. You know, daughters doing it's crazy. Men raping their daughters, and you know, it's like, and the crazy part was, we still don't get why these things established. Okay, marriage. It's not working, and this stuff is falling at wayside because nobody is paying attention and nobody follow the rules. Nobody give a fuck no more. We got to be blunt here. Let's be real. As a woman, you know that you really don't care enough to really change yourself or change your ways because you don't feel like it's going to benefit you. And as a man, they're like, well, we're not about to come and rock with you and give you my all when you only giving me 35% and a bunch of excuses and attitudes and reasons why, you know what I'm saying? So this is why the system ain't gonna work. And the men, like, think about it. It's like, shit, I'm better off, like, at the end of the day, you want me to deal with you, be frustrated with you, fuck with you, get all this shit going on, frustrate me, when at the end of the day, it's a billion more women on earth than men. It ain't a shortage of women, it's a shortage of men. That's naturally. There's a billion more women than men, easily. I think it's like 2-point-something billion more women than men. And then you take on the deaths in the hood, that's right. Then you take on prison, right? And then you take on all the other things that get in the way. Homosexuality, you put in there, you know what I'm saying? So then you just took out it was 2.6 more women than men. But if you put all that together, now there's like 5 billion more women than men. And the women are walking around America as if they're the commodity. There's billions more, respectfully. I want you to just look at it as a numeric thing, not out of disrespect. Because I'm always talking logical more than I'm talking about trying to be disrespectful emotionally. There's already 2 billion more women a year than you put in homosexuality, death, prison, right? All of these things. So then now it's like 4 or 5 billion more women than men on earth. And when I see, as a black man, when I see women, they walk around as if they're a commodity and don't understand why men have developed the behavior mentally, not that it's right, but have developed the mental mentality, like, you know what, I got a girl, but I'm gonna mess with these other girls. You know what I'm saying? I got a woman, I've been with you for years, but you don't want to have sex like that because you irritated your jogging in the eye, no doubt. So these, and everywhere we go as black men, as much as we get into these conversations, the black woman still is attracted to us. The black woman still fiends for us. She still loves us. Yeah, we fucked up. But that's what you got to remember, the root of a black man is his mother. Because if we go back in the last 60-some years, the man can have an opinion, but he doesn't have the authority to make the choice anymore, right? So we have to remember that's where, remember, the men, they were doing their wives wrong. And they were so stern, and it was like, you know, that you could ease up on the kids. But those, when you look at those families, there was a lot of stuff that went right. And I know that the women, it was a bad time for them, and it should have been corrected. Like the rapes and how the men and their rights weren't equal and how they were misled and all that. I 100% full-heartedly understand and sympathize with women and understand. I understand. But me understanding and us staying in that place and us and you just staying there in your frustration, we can't do nothing in that. Because the leaders of our culture are you. Now, we lead in our authority, but we can't lead. We're still the same leaders we were, but to an invisible race of people. The kids follow mom, and that's why somebody said to me the other day, you always talking about the black woman, but you said don't no animals follow no man. But you missed the point, because the babies can't follow the man, because a man's job could be dangerous. You don't want the babies following me when I'm, you know what I'm saying? But that's just how it goes. So even if the man is good man or bad man, if nature put the kids follow the mother, then that means that the mom can't afford to be, right? And it's unfair, but that's how nature wrote it. Remember, these insects and these other mammals got this same principle. But if the ants and all of the females that run them coaches get mad and just get so frustrated, they didn't. You know what I'm saying? And then we say, like, well, the queen ant, she can sit there and mate with the man and then eat him. Yo, she loves, listen, that's how much she values. She felt like she got to become him, like voodoo. She has sex with him. She takes his energy. It helps her, but see, understand, when he has sex with her, he populates her for thousands of eggs. Right? I want y'all to think about that, because I've seen these posts about females running society and insects. Remember, even in the insect kingdom, if you look at this from a true perspective, the queen ant, she has sex with the man and she eats the ant. So the African woman said, this proves that we can have a system, because 95% of all ants are females and it's a colony that's efficient. And I said, baby girl, efficient don't mean perfect. And it don't mean, right? But it does work. But remember, we're not insects. But it's all about how you look at it, right? Because if that one man that she eats is only if it's only 5% males in there, right? So then you need to figure out what role does he play, what job does he do to understand his importance. Then you gotta ask yourself, after she mates with him and he injects sperm, so much sperm out of that one male that can make millions of thousands of ant larvae, right? And then she eats him, and she eats him to fertilize the nation. He's important as hell. Because if she could go, listen, she's the queen. She can get anything on the planet. The ants can go take anything they want to bring her to eat. They are strong. Like, man, ants are strong. 10 times their body weight. They can swarm something. She can have anything she chooses, right? And she wants to eat the male because he is the highest form of nutrients, education, right? Because she eats him, and as she eats him, that gets transferred to the children. So she eats him, and he lives through his kids. So now he fertilized her. She gave birth to what they both created, but his body is what gave the nutrients to every ant in her body. It's all preference. You know what I'm saying? People just not teaching right anymore.
So, we have been taught to look at things in such a ridiculous way. It's just absurd.
Since you brought up Christianity, I had a question I want to ask before we get back to the book. I heard you say, I don't know if it's in the book or I heard you in an interview, you said these preachers or leaders, Christian leaders, are not praying for people, they're preying on them. Can you explain what you meant by that?
I don't remember saying that, but I'm sure you paraphrase in some kind of way. It's like a lot of the so-called ministers and preachers and different people we got out here, they're not teaching you to worship God, they're teaching you to worship them. Okay? God don't need money in that way. And there has never been a God recorded that lived in high riches like all of the people that say they represent God do today. It's not a necessity. Okay? In fact, when you really are strong in your faith, you don't...
Every planet except one.
You don't even earn for all that material. You know what I mean? And I know the feeling.
Things as proof that you are in contact with God. You know, the blessing is survival. The blessing, the supreme blessing is peace, which is something we don't have. We don't have peace. We're not even familiar with it, other than saying peace or peace and love and things like that. But as a way of life, is to practice it in our homes and over our children so that we can model a new idea. That's the only way to change the people. You change their idea. You don't have to change the environment. You don't have to charge them nothing. You don't have to join no group. Just change your idea. And the rest of all of you will get in line with that, and you will be successful in whatever that idea is. Now, that idea can be robbing a bank. That idea can be murdering somebody. But if you get in agreement in your mind and do it, it can turn out all kind of ways.
You see how he said that all you have to do, you don't have to change the environment. You don't have to change you just have to change the idea. So if you and your husband or wife are having problems, you have to change the idea of what y'all both have to sit down and come together and come up with the idea of what you want to be and work towards it. Right? And it's hard because nobody understands it. So I'll give you an example. I'll make it simple. The rap music is giving kids ideas, and just once the music, like the drill music, put the idea of killing as being cool, to be respectful in their head. Once they planted the idea, you see how the kids vibrated to it, because once it started growing, you know, with the right artists, the right beats, the right thing, you nurturing this, and now it becomes powerful. So I sit back and I always think about producers who making all these beats and understanding they want to get to the bag, but don't really understand that what they asking for, right? Because as Shabazz said, you don't have to change your people's environment. So if I don't got to change Jersey, I don't got to change Raleigh. I have to change the idea. All I have to do is change, if I can get people to grasp the idea, or all the people who do rock with me, they grasp the ideas that I bring to the table. It's not about agreeing with me or everything I'm saying has to fit or be so perfect, but we have to change the ideas of people. We just change what they are thinking, right? So if the ideas that give people is to be gangsters, those are the ideas introducing to children's mind. Everything in these songs are introducing thoughts and ideas to them. So that's why it's very important to you want to change your kids, you got to change, you introducing them to new things. So some people, that don't just mean give them a book. You got to be well versed so you can talk to them about it because the book might not get their attention. You need to have some video references for some of your kids of people that you know because they're visual learners. Some people need a compassionate talker for them to feel it, so you have to understand that.
So we should get an agreement in our mind to practice doing things a different way, to raise our children a different way, and stop treating the children like they are a burden, and that they are in the way. And all that talk about the children are the future. Well, we're looking at the future now. Do we like it? No, we don't like it. Our children are savage running the streets.
Right. But see, that's a thin line. That's the one line, see, why a man has to finish her side of the book as far as articulated on both sides. Because when we looking at the children like they the problem, because they are the problem. You understand? See, a mom, she's brilliant. I love Shahzad Ali, but she's still a mother. She still carries the genetics of what? She's still gonna have certain small traits that she's a woman. She's a brilliant woman. But she gotta understand, when you say, whether she realizes it or not, we treat our kids like they're in the way. They are in the way because they're disrespectful. The kids are manipulating relationships. The kids do what they want to do the same way mom does. See, where you think the kids get the idea that I ain't got to listen to shit? I ain't got to do nothing. I can do what I want to do. Why you think girls and their mother, black girls and their mother struggle with their relationships? Because they see their mother doing what they want to do. They see mom not listening to dad or nobody. They got eyes. They can hear the arguments. They can see how this doesn't make sense. And then after a while, they start realizing, like, I can do this too. So once the daughter loses respect for the mindset of what mom is doing and coming with, because a lot of times mom can have a good job, don't mean she living right. Your daughter might feel like, well, you all over me about boys I'm texting, I ain't sleeping with them, but you got a different nigga in here every year. See, it's about, nobody talks about it, it's about respect. But remember, she said we can't look at the kids are the problem. The kids are the problem right now. And if we understood that the kids were the problem, we would know where to put our energy and to project it to do the thing. And that's not knocking her, but I'm just saying. We've let them get raised up on all the nonsense on every media that we could afford to buy them. That's not anything we're proud of. They're very ignorant and disrespectful and embarrassing, and most of us are afraid of them because they're so savage. They have no predictability. I had a high school ask me to come and speak to the seniors. Because that one book I have, Things Your Parents Should Have Told You, it was required reading in a lot of schools at one time, that the children had to read this and understand it before you get your diploma, especially in New York. And so I would look at the condition of the children and recognize that we're looking at the tomorrow. And we don't have an alternate plan. There's a few good brothers out here with some schools now for black boys especially. We need that. We need them for the girls. As smart as we are and as much education we got, schools and education is the problem, but that's step 2. We tend to forget as a culture, and it's crazy that me and my age see past what our elders don't, but that's how this works. Schools, having great schools for us to learn, that's key, because we need to know our history and know the truth. But we can have all the greatest schools in the world, but if the home ain't right, it don't matter. And sending kids to a school where they hardly go home, that ain't good for no kid. That ain't a part of nature. Animals with their parents every night. You understand? So we can go to school all day. The school is the family, right? Because if we were a society, they did this, right? So we remember, we can get all the education in the world, but if we don't fix home, which is mother and father and them children, it doesn't matter, because we'll raise a bunch of kids who have the education and know the knowledge, but they lack the fundamental principles and etiquette and discipline and structure to be able to even with all the knowledge they got, they just gonna run wild because now they got knowledge and no discipline, and that's unbalanced. Oh, and that's another thing I want to mention. We need to start letting our little boys play with dogs. Now, this is a campaign that I'm trying to get started. They need to play with dogs because we got young men out here and older men that the child interrupt a video game, they knock it out with their fists. They beat them, they kill them, they don't know how to discipline them physically, they go too far.
They punching them with their fists. They're doing a lot of things to these babies, taking their frustration out on them and anger out on them because they don't relate to it. They don't know how to deal with it. So we tend to just teach motherhood as if that's all you need.
And that's another point that she makes that I always say. I love Shahrazad, but her points can sometimes be very thin. Like she shows that she understands the plight of black men, but she also sometimes still shows, and I respect her a lot, that she still shows her natural woman sense that's still gonna give her a disconnect with a man. Because like she said with the kids, you can't blame the kids and then later on you saying the kids is the problem, they disrespectful, but if you let us handle that, you will understand. When you say that, as women, when y'all say we need to be taught how to be men, I don't disagree that, right? Or know how to grow it, right? But it can't be, the lesson would have never came from y'all. So when y'all saying don't punch, don't do this, that's not reality. Because when we took them boys from their mother, if in order to get to, remember, it's all men, it's 15 of us, and we out, whatever we're doing, let's say we're in Africa, you in the village of all men right now, because that's the stage, right? So all of the boys your age are up there with all the elders and the men that are the teachers or whatever that's showing you how to be. Ain't no women up there. So first of all, ain't no women, the woman's opinion doesn't even exist in that state. The reason why we took them boys away from y'all asses at 12 was because you think it's too harsh. It's because you think that we doing too much. It's because you have to understand as a woman, your stomach and what you feel is physicality is different than a man's plight for physicality, because he's still, even though he's your little boy, that nigga still gotta grow up and be a man. So the man's world is physical. Men are going to do it, they're gonna fight, they're gonna box. So to sit here and to be worried about how they feel more than about, nature teaches everybody through pain. So that's what I realized about it. So I never knock Shelter. I love everything she say, but remember that you can't say you want what's best for the boys, but then try to put your female emotions on these boys. So if you saying like, you know, we can't blame the children and say the children is the problem, but then later say the children is the problem because they disrespectful, that's what we trying to stop when they little. You think we being too harsh when no, we making an example. It's smart of you, I'll show me a child when he's 5, I'll show you that man. So if we miss our marker because you still babying him, then what? All the information in the world that we get at the same time, the only small parts that's when I say, you know, if you gotta when you say the black man is this, then you gotta let us be and stop contradicting us, which you might not agree with because of the sensitivities you have by nature. That's why that's the reason why we take them away from you. BH.